Open an image in Affinity Photo and go to the Tools panel. Select the triangle tool. You can find it there just below rounded rectangle and just drag down and just create a very quick vector triangle. It can be any size, any colour. And just also rotate it. Just hover over there and you can rotate it. You can then resize it as well if you want it really sharp across the entire image. Now what I want, turn it into a pixel layer. So just go to Layer and Rasterize. So Rasterize, and now it's a pixel layer. You can see pixel layer there, and layer, and new pattern layer from selection. That's why I need it as a pixel layer. So new pattern layer from selection, and you can see I've got this new layer applied. I'm just going to remove the old one. So just delete that, press the delete key, and select that pattern layer. And you can resize it. You can see the design there. Now go to the Move tool. The Move tool selected, I can move this around. Also, I can hold down the Alt Option key and duplicate it. I just duplicate that and create multiple copies. And you can vary the size, maybe vary the angle, shear, etc. Position, and I'm going to create, now it creates a bit of a rain effect, I think, as well. But what you can also do, go to the layers over here, that's View menu, Studio and Layers, and select all of the pattern layers. And then go to Layer, and down to Merge Selected. That merges them all into a pattern layer as well. So they don't lose the pattern layer. So it all become one single pattern layer, which is quite good because you can then resize it a bit more. You can make it bigger, smaller. Personally for this, I think bigger is probably slightly better than very small. You can use small, but I'm going to go for slightly larger. It also makes it clearer to see in the tutorial. What you can also do is you can, again, hold down the Alt Option key to duplicate, but you can also go to Layer and you can say Duplicate again. And this time I'm going to rotate it. I just want it slightly. Now you can vary the angle, any angle. You've got two pattern layers. Select both of them and go again, Layer and Merge Selected. Now weirdly, sometimes what happens, it suddenly loses that and you suddenly see gaps there. This time it didn't do it, but sometimes it does, so be aware of that. Not certain what happens, maybe it's a memory issue. However, you'll notice there, if I got that fairly, you can see there's a bit of a cut in there. We can get rid of that, just go up here, top left, go to the mirror, and then you can see there isn't that issue. Now you can resize it again. I think for this, probably best to see it fairly large. Now, what I want to do, I want to turn that into a mask. But before I do that, I'm going to go to the background layer because I want a copy of that. And also I deselect this. There's a little lock. Just going to deselect that. Never like that. So layer and duplicate. So I've got two copies now. Obviously that, background, that, and I've got this pattern. 3 layers. Now this one is a pattern. You can't just drag it down into the background. That doesn't work. What you need to do is convert it into a mask. So go to Layer and down to Rasterize to Mask. And with that converted to a mask, you can see the effect there. You've got this design. However, what I can do, I can just drag that down to this second layer. And in between the image and the text, you'll see a little blue line. And you can release. And as soon as you do that, you can see what happens. It becomes a mask for that layer. And it just shifts slightly. It doesn't look very much. It looks like the same image. In fact, I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can just see it a bit more clearly. So zoom in. Well, what you can do, you can apply effects. So I'm just going to go to this background and down the bottom, there's effects, FX. So FX, click that, and then you can go to 3D. So 3D, and straight away you can see what happens. You get this lovely 3D, slightly, and I'm going to go for a slightly rounded look. I think that works best. So a rounded look. So set the radius to fairly large, not too large, but set it there. And also bevel emboss, go for that, put that on as well. And you can set that maybe slightly larger as well, and also soften. So again, and of course you can also vary this. If you want to, you can vary the direction, just change the direction to what you want. And if you're happy with this design, stop at this point. However, I'm just going to go a bit further than this. And of course you could also change profiles, etc. So now I've got that, I've got the background layer. what I can now do is apply effects to the mask because I want to modify this mask. So mask, go to filters and blur and Gaussian blur. And I'm going to blur it a fair amount and apply. I also want to add some noise to this mask. So I'm just going to go to filters and noise, and I could do a number of ones here, but I'm going to go for add noise. So add noise. Also another option, you could use procedural textures as well. That's super useful for creating really unique textures, noises, etc. Now I can modify this. I can set the intensity up and click apply. And you can see it's really not much. There's a bit of roughness now appearing. However, of course, with all these filters, repeat. You can see it's a bit more noise there. Repeat, add noise again. And now you're seeing the effect. So that's, at that point, I'm going to stop. Don't want to add too much noise that you end up completely obliterating the pattern design. So with that, you can see now the sandblast effect. Well, it doesn't look very much like sand at this point. And of course, what you can do, of course, you could leave it at that if that's the sort of effect you want, the sort of rough texture across this. But you can also add layers and new adjustment layer and go down to recolor or use one of the other ones. Gradient maps, quite useful as well. So go for recolor and you can see now you've got this lovely design there, red. But for sandblast effect, I would suggest maybe a more yellow effect there. And once you're happy with that, of course, you can always tweak these things as well. So you've got this sort of sandblast effect. You can always run through blending modes. I've got this as normal at the moment, but you can also go through darken. And maybe sometimes you think, oh, you know what? Linear burn. I love linear burn. I don't know why. It always seems to create that real nice touch, the end result. But there you have it. A nice sandblasted pattern design, sort of with that roughness applied to, with the image below, of course, slightly obscured. And also I've got another example here. So I've got this one. This one is slightly even more intense with the actual sharpness there of the noise. It just depends really on the pattern you create and how close it is. All those sort of things, all deciding factor whether you get a really intense thing. Obviously in this case, slightly wider apart, creates a slightly more sort of gaps there for the noise. But with this, you've got a far more intense line structure. And you can create all kinds of different, and of course you can always vary it. If you go to recolor adjustment, you can vary that. And again, you get that sort of sandblasted, maybe orange effect. And again, blending modes, again, linear burn, color burn, etc. Just try them. Just go through the blending modes and you can see the effect you get. You get some really interesting, intense effects using this approach of adding blurs as well as noise to these pattern layers that have been converted into masks in Affinity Photo. Well, I hope you found this tutorial of interest. Any questions, please put in the comments below. Always appreciate it. It's great to hear if there's things you don't understand or maybe I didn't explain well. Please let me know. Thank you much.